Welcome, everyone. My name is Brigitte Richmond. I'm an assistant director in the Study Abroad team. Welcome to Study Abroad Week. This is our final day for Study Abroad Week, and we're featuring Ireland and the UK. Today we have a couple of our staff from London who are going to present on London as a multicultural capital. Just a little bit about the week. If you've missed any of our information sessions, they are recorded and will be posted on our website next week. So feel free to go back and listen to some of the sessions that you missed. I really encourage everyone to follow us on Instagram. Later today, we'll have a couple students doing takeovers in London as well as Ireland to get that student perspective. Our handle is ND International, so make sure to follow us on Instagram. You can also come in for in-person advising from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday in 105 main building. We have walk-in advising sessions in the afternoon from 1 to 4, as well as exploring our website, studyabroad.nd.edu. We have a lot of information about our program pages, our finances, get to know some of the study abroad storytellers. And yeah, any other questions, feel free. We'll have some time afterwards to answer any questions you have. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, there it goes.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Did you want to introduce yourself first, Alice?
Sure. Hi guys, my name's Alice Tyrell and I'm the Director for Academic Programmes and Librarians here at the London Global Gateway.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name's Dahlia Bond and I'm the Director of Student Affairs.
We'll go ahead and go to the next slide.
Yes, please. Okay, so what does multicultural London look like? This is a very short session, more of an introductory piece. And again, I'll say now, if you have any further questions, please do let us know. Well, what does it look like? Well, I hope by the end of this presentation that you'll be able to answer this question and understand what multicultural London really means. If you wouldn't mind moving to the next slide, please, Brigitte. Thank you very much. So I'm a book historian, I'm a Scottish historian, so I always have to do a little bit of the history. But London has actually always been a city of foreigners. For much of its history, the percentage of Londoners born outside the capital was actually much higher than even today. And historian Peter Earle noted in 1700 that the majority of Londoners had not been born in the capital. Many had come from overseas, so Huguenots from France, Jews from Spain and Eastern Europe, Scandinavians and Germans, Moors and other Mediterranean people. And there were also lots of Welsh, Scots, Irish, and people from the other ends of England. And as a Scottish historian, I can tell you that often those from Scotland were deemed to have hailed from the other nation. So they were also considered to be foreigners. And it's always had pockets from those of even further afield. So by 1800, there were several thousand Black Africans, including servants, sailors, musicians, prize fighters, and writers. And actually, it's not very surprising that it's always been a hub for everyone, because it's been a commercial center from as far back as the Roman Empire. And people poured into what an 18th century commentator called, quote, that great and famous city, which may truly be said like the sea and the gallows, to refuse none, end quote. And this particular image on here is Tom and Jerry masquerading it, which was engraved by Isaac Cruikshank and George Cruikshank, and this is from 1821. Next slide, please, Brigitte. Thank you. So what does it mean to be Black in London? With approximately 2 million people in the UK identifying as Black, London is a great place to explore this rich culture. The population, of course, when I say that, represents both those from the Caribbean as well as those of African descent. And as in the US, people of color come from a wide variety of ethnic backgrounds, but in general, the term Black or Black British are the most widely used term to refer to those from African or Caribbean heritage. You will often see the term BAME, so Black, Asian and Minority Ethnic, used in publications, but it's more commonly used for statistical purposes and not really in day-to-day interactions. So some of the events that we have here that celebrate the great, addition of Black culture to the British British history is, for example, Black History Month, which occurs in the fall and includes events aimed at meeting local communities, challenging racism, and also informing oneself and others about lesser known Black British history. But also, more than that, it's just a great place to be to explore it. Whether or not you identify as Black or not, you'll find lots of African and Caribbean foods, lots of food festivals pop up, great restaurants. There's also been in recent years a plethora of retailers now that very much focus on Black hair and Black makeup. This was quite hard to source not that long ago, and skin products. And you can find these very easily now, either in the local community, so our main shops, which is great, or also online. And for more information on the history of the Black community, I've just put here 2 examples of books that I thought were really useful. So Black and British by David Olusoga and Black Tudors by Miranda Kaufman, which are really good. They're available on Amazon, but they're really nice introductory pieces. And the 2 images on here, the first one is of Empire Windrush, which was actually the ship that brought one of the first groups of West Indian immigrants to the UK. And the second depicts Oluwadu Aquilano, who lived from 1745 and 1797, and originally from Nigeria. So he was sold twice into slavery, but as a freedman in London, he supported the British abolitionist movement, and he was one of the most active members among the anti-slave movement in the 1780s. Next slide, please, Brigitte. Thank you very much. So, being Jewish in London, what does this mean? So 250,000 people in the UK identify as Jewish, with large communities in London, Manchester, which is about 2 and a bit hours away from London, Leeds, again, similar timeline, and Hertfordshire, which is very close to London. It's one of the shires. And it goes without saying that there is a broad range of observance within that and traditions, with plenty of synagogues that cater for Reform, Liberal, Orthodox, and the ultra-Orthodox communities. One of the main festivals that's celebrated, obviously non-religious one, I should say, is Jewish Book Week, which is an annual international literary festival held in London, again, usually in fall. And it brings it's a festival that brings together writers and speakers from the most eminent to the first time published to discuss important issues of the day. But importantly, it's open to absolutely everyone. If you are observant, kosher markets and foods within mainstream supermarkets are relatively easy to find. And there's 2 really cool resources. So the Really Jewish Food Guide and the app, Is It Kosher? Because I'm all about the apps, makes finding that fab kosher restaurant easier than ever. And unsurprisingly, some of the best Jewish delis, butchers and bakeries are found in traditional Jewish communities such as Stamford Hill and Golders Green. And again, for a little bit more about the history of the Jewish community in London, you can see 2 books here, Jews in Britain 1656 to 2000 by Todd Endelman, and Jewish in London by Rachel Koski and Roslyn Rawson. And the 2 images here, obviously one is a family heading to temple, which I just found a very beautiful. It's just like all of us do. You go to church, you go to temple, you go to the park of a weekend, a family just enjoying their time. And the second one is a picture of a Jewish family from the East End of London from the 1880s. And I think I'll now hand over to Alice.
So I'm actually going to update this slide as of the most recent statistics. London Muslims actually now make up just over 20% of the city's population, and Islam in the most recent census was the 2nd largest religion in the UK after Christianity. There have been Muslims in the UK since the 16th century, but there's really significant populations communities developing in the late 1900s, typically in the port cities of London, Cardiff, Glasgow, Liverpool, Tyneside, and then settling in the Midlands, where they were strongly represented textile industries. Muslims in London come from a really wide range of ethnic and national backgrounds, and there are substantial Muslim communities across East, West, North and Central London. Eid in the Square is an annual Muslim festival held the first Saturday after the religious holiday begins in Trafalgar Square, and that's become one of the key cultural highlights of London's public event calendar. If you are observant, finding mosques and halal food in London is really easy. There are, in terms of halal food, a number of supermarkets, including all the mainstream big hitters, Marks and Spencer's, Tesco, Morrison's, and the Co-op, sell halal meat and other products. The range and availability does vary between stores. And some of the best halal butchers and restaurants are, as you would expect, found in traditional majority Muslim communities, such as Brick Lane and Green Street, close to where I'm coming to you today here in East London. Our images here, for if you want to learn more, we have a bibliography on our website, and we've just pulled out Martin Pugh's book on Britain and Islam, which traces that really long history from the Middle Ages to the present day. So a great starting point. And then moving on to talk about the queer community here in London. So, as is often the case with big cities, London is home to a very substantial lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer, and all other bits of the quilt bag community. Soho, just to the north of our academic building, Fisher Hall, and the West End, all around it, has long been home to gay, lesbian, and queer venues, shops, and communities. Vauxhall, just south of the river to the west of Conway Hall, is another destination with a growing collection of pubs, clubs, and venues anchored by the Royal Vauxhall Tavern, which has been welcoming members of the gay community since the Second World War. Stoke Newington in northeast London is a hub for less commercial queer community ventures and organisations. And you will find celebrations of all forms of queer identity across the city, across the year. Pride in London is obviously the big hitter every summer, with over 500,000 people attending, but there are also more specific prides and other celebrations and regional celebrations going on right into the fall. Just want to highlight our new book, just came out a few months ago, Queer London, which really traces both that, it's a mixture of a history and a guidebook, and gives you a wonderful glimpse into the community that you might be joining there.
Thank you very much, Alice. So what was the point of this session then after all of that? Well, the point is that London is not a monoculture, but one that, and you can explore all parts of you and yourself during your semester abroad. So I just put a number of images here. So we have Neasden Temple, which actually looks as if it should be somewhere beautiful in South Asia. Actually, it's in Neasden, in London, the top left. You have the Chinese New Year celebration, which we celebrate in Trafalgar Square and going up into Chinatown, top middle. You can experience great food on Brick Lane, which is the top right. The celebration of Diwali on the bottom left here. And again, these are all public celebrations which you can join and be, really enjoy. You can partake of Caribbean spices and markets in South London, which is the bottom middle image, and the Notting Hill Carnival on the bottom right. So to conclude then, what does multicultural London look like? It looks like London. It looks like the London that it has actually always been, welcoming to all, vibrant, prosperous, and truly cosmopolitan. So if we just go to the last slide, please, Brigitte. Thank you very much. So the reality is, however, that it is a large city with lots of different, religions, ethnicities, cultures, and even within that level of observances. So will I face discrimination? It's very unlikely. We do have legislation in place. Obviously, it's against the law, but on your day-to-day, it may be a case. And we have support here for you at the London Global Gateway. With myself as Director of Student Affairs, you have a very strong Res Life team, but it's also extremely unlikely. London is a mix of everyone, and we all really just love that mix and want to learn from everyone else. Who knew that I could get Mongolian cuisine on delivery and just eat? The beauty of everything that we have here is really enriching. So I would say it does occur. I won't lie, that would be an untruth, but it's not something that needs to be at the forefront of your mind. Please, we spent a lot of time as well on developing excellent resources. I put the link here, which is available on the London Global Gateway student portal, and you can pull full details of all of the discussions that we've had today. And I believe that Ms. Richmond is going to post this slide deck as well.
All right, we can go ahead and open it for questions.
You can put it in the chat if you want as well, if you don't want to if you don't wish to unmute. Well, I think everyone's okay.
But like we mentioned, the recording will be made available next week until November 1st on our website. Feel free to explore any other recorded sessions that you missed this week. And if you have any questions, reach out to us. You can contact me on campus and find information on studyabroad.nd.edu. And then Miss Alice and Miss Dahlia's contact information on London's webpage, london.nd.edu. So thank you very much for coming to the session.
Thank you very much, everyone.